Look up the word crazy in the dictionary and you might just find an asterisk beside the definition that says, listen to the Subiquitous podcast featuring Sue Duffield and you'll find out what crazy means. Sue's travelogue journey of unfiltered stories, impossible miracles, and faith-filled fun will be revisited right here. So buckle up and let's get going with this humorous travelogue of an unfiltered saint, Subiquitous.
Thanks for your kindnesses, for your craziness, and for all of the things that you mention during emails and responses about this podcast. This is episode number 16, and we're going to continue with more strange events and requests. I'm Sue Duffield, and it's wonderful to have you with us. By the way, thank you so much, Joanne. Joanne's from Wisconsin, who sent a message in a little while ago, actually a couple of weeks ago. And she said this has been something that's been so desperately needed, she feels, in the realm of such negativity in broadcast world. And she said, Sue, I got to tell you, I laugh out loud in the car. This is good stuff. This is good stuff when you're by yourself and you laugh out loud and there's no one with you. Now, Jeff Duffield is the king of that because I remember him telling me this story of driving down Interstate 81 listening to Bill Cosby. Correct, sir?
Very correct.
Tell that story, because I laugh at that one. I think that's hilarious.
Well, there's a couple, actually, because I listened to more than one Bill Cosby episode.
Yes,
but there was one he was talking about where he was in school and he never did any work. He was lazy.
Slow class.
And they put him in slow class. And he told the story about how they wanted his father to come in and have a meeting, and he didn't want that because he knew his father would kill him.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
It's been... in a manner of speaking. So it goes on to, and he allegedly, quote unquote, got real spiritual at the thought of his father coming in and on the
Which I wonder if, let me just pause here for a second. I wonder if you relate to this story because of your father.
Of course.
Your father would have killed you.
Of course. Yes. There's absolutely no doubt about that. I relate.
But you're by yourself in the car.
Yes, that's the point.
That's the point.
Yes.
Right.
And I was laughing so hard at this, relating to this whole thing, that I had all I could do to keep the car on the road. And not only that, I had all I could do to steer the car because I was laughing so hard I was crying and my eyes were filled with tears and I'm trying to drive and wipe my eyes so I can see where I'm going. Pretty funny.
So, do you remember the song he sang? What was it?
Jesus, keep me by the cross.
Yeah, it was
he manifested.
The words were messed up.
Yeah, he fractured the words. Whether or not he probably didn't know them, but that's another story.
So, if our listeners today are wanting to find that particular broadcast, they could get on iTunes, I think.
It's on
Bill Cosby Slow Class. Right?
Yeah, you could download it from iTunes. That's where I got it, and it's probably
it's a riot.
It's probably on YouTube.
It probably is.
I mean, I've never looked, but it's called Slow Class. Yeah,
which is another reason you probably related to it.
No,
I'm sorry, I didn't say that.
No,
did I say that?
No, I was threatened once with Slow Class.
And there's nothing wrong with Slow Class. There really is not.
I guess.
No,
I mean,
it helps a lot of people.
Today that would not be politically correct.
No, I don't think they would use slow or class.
No. Because everybody's a winner.
Everybody's diversified.
Yeah, or whatever.
Yeah.
But, Chris, we're going back over 50 years ago now when we're talking about my elementary school days. And, at the risk of sounding pompous, it was not in my situation, as they told me repeatedly, my father and others. It was not that I had any disability or impairment.
And continue to not have.
No, I was just...
not motivated.
I was not motivated. I was not interested.
Not interested, not motivated.
I don't know if it's accurate or not. I just remember the number. My 8th grade homeroom teacher, who also lived right next door to us. I mean, God was playing tricks on me. He lived right next door to me. Although I'll give him credit. Max did not, it wasn't like, he came over every day to give an update to my father and mother on what I was not doing in class. Only when it became time for marking periods and whatever. And once in a while, they'd see each other in the yard.
Right.
But he was the one that told me, and he was also my, not biology, algebra teacher in 8th grade.
Okay.
And he was the one that told me that
Yes.
I tested out as an IQ of about 180.
I don't doubt that
Which-
one single bit.
Now that I'm older, that's awfully high. But,
Well, you are smart.
well, anyway, that's what
you
he
have
said.
definite interests
Yeah.
and things that you are not interested in.
No. And I was not interested in algebra.
But think of this. Think of how many smart kids in the world. And we actually raised one. We raised in a very intelligent son.
With the same
With the same
personality defect.
Personality defect that if he was not interested in it, he would just tune out and just fail the class.
I couldn't do that because I was never able to instill the fear of God in my son.
Yeah, I know.
Of certain
We
impending
tried.
death. Yeah, that my father had instilled in me. So I did what was ever necessary to at least pass the class because
Yes, you did.
I didn't want to suffer the wrath of Genghis Khan when I went home from school. But anyway, yeah, my problem is I tried to out-rationalize algebra.
Oh dear! No, you need to tell the story just real quickly because we got to get going.
I
with
know
this.
we have other
No,
stories.
we got on. This is what happens. We go on rabbit trails.
That's exactly what it is.
But I want you to tell quickly the story of your geometry teacher. Do you remember what one I'm talking about?
Well, I only had one.
Oh, you only had one story for the geometry.
No, I only had
teacher.
one geometry teacher.
Well,
they said don't bother, don't put him anymore in these classes.
You only had
He's
one.
worthless. Yeah, I had geometry, whatever year it was.
I love this story.
and I failed
this
it,
should be
so-
the title of your book, actually.
You probably should.
Yeah.
I was not. Again, math was supposedly as intelligent as I am. Math was not an area of expertise for me or comprehension.
Right.
For me, I mean, I get 2 + 2 and that kind of stuff, but when you get into parallelograms and obtuse and all that kind of no. Anyway, I was walking into a class one day, and as she was standing at the doorway, and I said to her, Miss Shepherd, or Mrs. Shepherd, her name was, could you explain to me how music and geometry connect? What is the relationship
That was
there?
a very intelligent question.
Well, then there was a motivation behind it because I knew by that time that I was going to, I was
Yeah.
pretty good in music
Right.
and that I was going to make, some kind of living. That's where I doubt my intellectual capabilities.
That
I
paper
thought I was
route
going to make a
looked
living
really
in
good
music.
for a while.
Anyhow, the connection between music and geometry. And she said to me,
Drum roll.
yeah, well, the piano is a geometric shape.
And there you have it.
And yeah,
And that was it, right?
And I went to the back of the room to my chair and my desk and
put your
promptly
head down.
put my head down and went to sleep because that wasn't quite good enough for me at that point. So,
Well, that's not exactly a strange event, and it's surely not a strange request, but it's kind of fun to go back and listen to some of the historical archives
or
of
your
the Jeff
father would
Duffield
say,
story.
hysterical.
Hysterical Society, right. Well, I want to tell you, I did, interestingly enough, when I was flying a lot before the pandemic, I don't know if I told you this story or not, but I sat next to a pilot that was deadheading to Philadelphia. Did I tell you this?
You've told me so many stories
that's
about
true.
flying. I don't know. Go
Well,
ahead.
it was
Keep going.
it was a great exchange, and I it was not necessarily strange, but it was just really, really a cool little just a moment of, wow, I needed to write that one down. Anyway, I sat next to him. He was a Southwest pilot, and he was on his last flight home, and he's going to be off for like 3 or 4 days. And I just leaned over to him and I said, you know what? Thank you for all you do, right? I'm always thanking people,
Yep.
especially in leadership capabilities and
Their service industry.
exactly. And so he smiled back and he said, oh, you know what? It's nothing. Getting people from one place to another, make them smile, and let the invisible force guide. That's what he said. I thought, wow. So then he leans over to me and he says, well, what do you do? And I said, oh, it's nothing. Getting people from one place to another, making them smile, and let the invisible force guide. And suddenly I sat there and I realized the two of us, we laughed.
That was pretty good.
I know. I couldn't believe I actually remembered.
That was very good. That's very good.
Yeah.
Very fast. That's very
Yeah.
good.
But one strange request, and help me with the details on this one. When Wendy Miller sang with us, the three of us would do fairs and outdoor events.
Yes.
And we were singing at the Cecil County Fair, and we couldn't figure out why so many people came to hear us sing. Remember that?
Yes.
It was packed out, and I'm going, these people are like, wow, it was great. And as soon as we were done, we realized that the pig races were on right after us, and that's why they were there. Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah. And I remember being extremely hot.
It's sweltering. It was
and very moist.
very, very moist.
It had rained earlier in the day.
Oh, it was awful.
Yeah, it
but
was
I'm
not
sitting there
pleasant.
all puffed up like, wow, man, we drew 300 people tonight for the Duffields concert. And then I realized they're there for the pig races. They're not there for us. We were just
299 of them. They were there for the pig races.
we were just the preliminary indoctrination to what was really worth coming to see.
I guess.
Anyway, I laughed at that over and over again. So our friend Robbie from Virginia, and Jeff has been friends with Robbie for, how long is it? Almost
gosh.
50 years now? 40
Not
something?
quite 50, but,
Okay.
well, I met him like 77 or 78.
Right.
So it's over 40.
Right. And Robbie is a bass player, and a very, very good bass player. He's played for Virginia Dreams, which is a wonderful group that he played there in the Luray area of Virginia, beautiful area.
He's played for Jimmy Fortune.
He's played for Jimmy and
Ben Jones, who was
Cooter.
Cooter and the Dukes of Hazzard.
Right.
He played for Lou DeWitt, who was
Right.
the writer of the Statler Brothers song "Flowers on the Wall," and a few other people.
Right. So anyway, we've known Robbie a long, long time, and Robbie and I have a relationship apart from Jeff Duffield and Robbie, because when Jeff and Robbie get together, it is a riot. It is a strange, strange thing to watch, because our kids know when Robbie calls Jeff, they sound like, and if you've ever known the slapstick version of the Statler Brothers called Roadhog, that's what you do,
Yeah.
back and forth, and hey, ha, ha. And I mean, it's very strange to people if they don't know what's going on.
Don't be fun in the old road hog, all right.
But you turn into this very unique individual when Robbie calls.
and vice versa. His kids have said the same thing, that they
That's
know
right.
who he's talking to on the phone, based on how his voice that he
Yeah.
develops
Right.
and takes over him, and it's only
I know it's
the
only
two
him.
of us. Yeah.
It's only now. On my side, Robbie and I have a relationship. I
Yeah,
don't know
you do.
why.
Yeah, you do.
But we've when he calls, for some reason, I talk to him in almost and this isn't putting anybody down, but we love to talk in different dialects. Let's just say that much. Can I say that?
That sounds good.
Yeah. And so one day we were talking, and all of a sudden he picks up the phone, and I was telling him how I think my father in the Korean War, when he came back, he was always just so enamored by the Korean people. He just loved them. And he would, just kind of not mock them, of course, but he would try to talk like them, and it was terrible. He couldn't do it. But anyway, I told Robbie, I said, my father would come back from Korea back in the 50s, and he'd say, "Give, Coca-Cola," and stuff like that. And so we would talk back and forth and try to be Korean, which we're not. And so one day Robbie calls me and he goes, "Hasu, how are you?" And I say, "Oh, I'm fine. How are you?" Back and forth. And we laugh and we have fun with it. Well, one day the phone rings and I hear this voice on the other end of the phone. And it goes like this: "Hello, Sue?" And I go, "Hi, Robbie, how are you?" "Oh, I'm fine. How are you?" And I'm going back and forth, and all of a sudden I realize he goes, there's like this dead silence. And on the other end, "This is Pastor Lee Cho from Korean Baptist Church in New York." And I went, "Oh, how are you, sir? It's so wonderful to have you on the phone." So I learned that you just don't do that. You
No.
just don't do it. It was one of those strange, crazy moments when I went, "Oh boy, I think I'm in trouble now.
Well, see, here's your mistake.
Uh-oh.
And you and Roberto, as we call him,
yeah.
have made this. You decided to pick up, a dialect that the average person, depending on their nationality, would use.
That's right.
With us doing the old road hog,
Yeah.
there ain't nobody out there doing that. And if you talk that way,
right.
you have issues.
Well, that's true. And so I learned a big lesson from that. But then later on, and that's all we did was, hey, how you doing? So, this is Pastor Licho from Korean Baptist Church. And so I just realized I better just hide.
Now you don't do it until you actually see Robbie face to face.
Right.
And you know
I don't pick up the phone with somebody I don't know.
Yeah.
And just don't pay attention.
Well, it takes once.
Oh, my word. Did I tell you the time, and I'm a lot of this content that I bring up, there are a lot of things that Jeff knows what I'm going to do. But then there are some things he has no idea. We've talked about that before.
Well, that's a normal day.
That is a
life.
normal day.
Yeah.
And I have such great joy of surprise with Jeff Duffield. It is like, you know how there are people that don't like surprises? Well, I think
like surprises.
You like to be surprised, but there are some things.
There are some things. No.
There are some things that
Yeah.
are just kind of funny. But I remember you telling me the story. And I don't know if you'll remember this or not, but you have to tell me if you remember it.
I will.
Okay. That during a church softball game, the pastor of the opposing church challenged you to a fight after they lost. Is that right?
That's pretty much what happened. And I still to this day have no idea what I did to incur his wrath.
You were the catcher, correct?
I was also the coach of the team or manager or
okay.
whatever you want to call it. And I guess he was the de facto leader of his team.
He could have been.
I don't know. And I mean, you get, as everybody knows, you get on a field of competition. And you get trash talking.
In a church league?
Yeah, can you imagine?
No, you do not.
Yeah.
No, this is an outreach, an evangelistic outreach for young men.
Right. But I don't recall anything that was excessive. There was, if there was, it was, it was kidding around. There wasn't, just. Again, I have no recollection because he said it at the end of the game across the field.
Oh my!
In front of both teams.
Front of the whole. I thought he came up to you personally and said,
no.
"All right, let's get the fisticuffs out."
No. He said it, standing near home plate, and I was on our side of the field. Like taking my cleats off or something like that.
What a great witness!
Yeah, really.
What a great witness for the Lord. I love it.
I looked up at him and like, huh? What? And of course he repeated the challenge, and I said, in so many terms, in a nice way, told him go fly a kite.
Yeah, you were very kind.
And I just left, and we left with the team. I got in the car and went home. But that was an odd experience. That was
very unique. And I remember you coming home with your eyes wide open, like you won't believe what just happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to admit,
you will not believe this.
There's only been one pastor in 47 years that has actually challenged me to a fight.
Now, didn't you tell me later on he apologized to you or something?
If he did, I never heard it.
You're kidding.
No.
I thought he did.
No.
Oh, okay.
If he did, I'm not aware of that either. Matter of fact, I don't think I ever saw him again.
Oh, that could be too. And you know what? Another thing, the old Jeff Duffield.
Yes.
Oh man, you could have tore him apart.
Well, I guess.
But now the little softy that you've become.
Oh yeah.
This is the man who
occasionally it'll flare up if you push me far enough. But I try not to.
But I like that you've become tender and soft.
I'm trying to be more Christ-like.
Christ-like is a good thing.
I'm trying.
I know. It's a very, very tough thing to attain.
Sometimes, well, I can't do it on my own. I'll say that up front. It's not, not all of my doing.
So that was very strange for a pastor
That was very weird.
to say, okay, let's duke it out.
Talk about weird requests.
And then
That's a weird one.
in front of the whole team, in front of people in the stands,
Yeah,
even.
yeah, it was.
He
it was
lost his
weird.
cool, man. He lost it.
And I think somebody thought they heard me say something or what.
okay.
I don't know.
I
have no. It came, and even the guys on my team,
They were like, what?
and I could give you a name and number of one of them. We're still friends and still see each other regularly.
I don't know what happened there.
They go, what did you say? I'm like, I don't know. I have
Can
no
you
clue.
imagine though if it was carried out? And that
Well-
would have been a headline story in a local newspaper for sure. Pastor
Well-
dukes it out with Jeff Duffield, the
Yeah,
musician.
it wasn't going to happen for a lot of reasons. Yeah, but
Oh my. So that's apart from our quote music ministry, obviously,
Talk
because we
about
do have a
where in
life
the
outside of music.
Where in the world did
No,
you
we
get
do.
that
We have a-
story?
we-
We definitely
We
do.
have a life.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't think that. They think all we do is sing all day.
Well, that's been said about me.
Yeah,
all
and all
I
you do is play the piano, right.
and sit and stare at the wall.
Which is why every time you show up at a church, if they know you play the piano, oh, Jeff Duffield's here. Can you come up and play for the song service?
Yeah,
Almost to
even
a-
when they don't know me,
even when they don't know you, and even if you're in Israel.
even if I'm halfway around the world.
You can't-
Yes. And not a soul, nary a soul, lo and behold, not a soul knows who I am.
I know.
Yeah.
And weren't you asked? You were asked to play, correct?
I
in
was
Israel.
over there. I was over there with
that's so funny.
with Camp Kirkland, noted
Right.
arranger in Nashville, and his Metro Big Band, and we were doing a missions trip over
Right,
there.
that's right.
And on the Sunday morning, we were scheduled to play in the First Baptist Church of Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And everybody setting up, and I probably stood out. I didn't blend.
You never blend. You've
Yeah.
never blended a day in your life
True.
with your double knit pants and your half cut
whatever.
boots.
And half cut boots.
Yeah, you had like these half boots you used to wear when you were a kid.
Not in when I went to Israel.
Oh,
I worked past
and your
them.
leisure suits
Worked
and your
past
flowered
those two.
shirts.
Yeah, I worked past those two.
And your bright colored shirt and tie that you got accused
Didn't
of
have a shirt and tie
too
on.
much color.
Yeah, not that day. I was standing in the foyer or vestibule for those who go to church on a regular basis,
Yeah.
and everybody else in the band is setting up. They got trombones and trumpets and saxes
yep,
to
that's
set
right.
drums to set up and stuff like that. They just had a piano. All I had to do was sit down and play it.
That's right.
So I did not blend. And
do not blend. You
no.
never blend.
And I was standing there, and this lady came up to me, and she said, "Are you the piano player?"
See,
I knew.
Do you have it written across your forehead?
I
am the
must.
keyboard player.
I must.
Or-
It must be printed in invisible ink on my shirt.
See, and I have a vision.
And only people from churches and all those guys can
Right.
can read it. And I said, "Yeah,
Oh, boy.
I'm the piano player." And she's, "Well, we don't have ours here today. Could you play?" I was like, "Yeah, I got." I went 12,000 miles to play for a song service on a Sunday morning. Yeah. Oh, well. Story of my life.
I think it's just your aura. You have
No, it's just that I play the piano.
I know, and
That's
there
all.
are very few people in this world
I
that
got
can
no
sit
aura.
down and play anything at the piano. Do you know
Almost.
most everything you sit down and you play?
Well, it's
but the
because I
strange
choose my-
request for that
yeah.
was everywhere we go.
Yes.
If we're not singing, or we attend a service, or we attend a function, or anyway, it never fails.
That's correct.
Even during the pandemic, when
Well,
all the churches were closed.
Every church is closed except
for ours. and
hours. Well, we were closed. we were closed, but we were doing virtual church. which
and
I'm-
you still had to play.
And I still had to go
That's
play.
right,
And
because-
I sat there one day, and it occurred to me, we're in the middle of a pandemic. The country's on lockdown, and I'm still playing for church services.
And that's what you were called to do.
It must be.
Because
It
it's
must
better
be.
than getting into fisticuffs with a pastor.
This is true. And
you
let
protected
me-
your hands.
Yeah, and let me add this coda that there's a musical term for you. That I'm not complaining. It's not.
No.
It's just sometimes I wonder.
You know what I think, though?
When does the piano player get a day off?
I
But anyway.
think, especially since your mother went to heaven, I think she's up there going, okay, he's here today. He's sitting on the third row. He's got white hair. He's my son.
Which would be pretty
and
interesting.
He really plays the piano.
Would be pretty interesting because my mother never sounded like that.
No, that's true. I loved your mama.
I know.
So
but she
much
didn't
so.
She was not a New York Italian mother.
No, I know. Well, she's Jersey, though.
Yeah, but that's not New York.
She said water.
She said no. She said water.
Oh, water. Okay.
Yeah, it
right.
was WOO.
But I loved your mommy so much. Seriously,
I did too.
And I used to make her laugh. Talk about strange things.
Yeah.
That could be another podcast.
Yeah, that's true.
But,
people you made laugh.
Yeah, that could. Oh, that's a great one. Let me write this down.
Okay.
Hold on.
All right.
Okay, I'm writing it down. Can you hear it?
It sounds like you're tapping on your computer, but I don't think you typed that fast.
No, I don't.
But that's
No,
okay.
I don't. That was fake. But I will tell you. I had names that I could have picked out to be called with my grandchildren. I had people say, "Oh, Sue, you should be Gigi." I had one person say, "You should be Suma." Like Sue and Ma together, like a wrestler.
Okay, I was going to say, that sounds like a wrestler.
But I chose Mom because Nana was already taken by the Walker side of the family.
That's true.
Of Annie's side,
Yes.
or Doug's side. And so I chose...
What are you going to be on David's side?
I'm Mom. I'm Mom
Still
to
Mom?
everybody.
Okay.
And that's in honor of your mother.
Yes.
Okay.
I know.
Well, anyway, strange requests. There's one more I want to talk about.
Okay.
And then we're going to be done with this one. Okay. You have a great account of this, but this was very strange. We pulled up to a church, and I'll let you go from there. It was like we thought we were singing at this particular church. We had booked it 4 months prior, and we show up, we get out of the van, and then you take it from there.
Well, I walked in the lobby of the church.
Right.
And came upon an usher there in the lobby, and I asked by name for the pastor, which I have done hundreds of times.
Right.
And he looked at me and said, oh, he's across the street.
Oh.
And I looked at him and I went, huh? What is the pastor doing across the street on
and
Sunday
then they
morning?
Tell us.
Yeah, he had taken a group, or a group had been asked to go with him or whatever, from the church.
Right.
And they were having a meeting over in the local elementary school that was across the street.
Right.
And that was how I found out that there had been a separation, shall we say.
Yes,
in
a
the
separation.
congregation. Yeah.
But we were really caught in a weird position.
Yeah.
We were booked by the pastor, not the church itself. So
Right.
we didn't realize that there was a major split. And
it's
like,
call it.
what do we do? Do we stay here with this church, or do we go over there with the pastor? And I guess what inevitably we did.
Well, we went across the street
We did.
because, we went across the street
Yeah,
because
that's
there was
right.
nobody there at the church that seemed willing to
They didn't
let us
want us.
come in, set up.
Oh my!
And the good thing about that, there is a bright side to that story.
I hope so.
There were some people there at the, as we call it, at the split,
Yes.
who had a little band.
Oh.
And they later on, a few months later, I forget how long, came up to my studio
Yes.
and actually recorded an album.
And I played the drums.
And you played the drums on a couple songs,
That was very strange.
which for
That was an
again,
event.
a nominal fee made payable to Jeff Duffield. I will gladly send you an MP3
Sue
file.
Duffield wanted to be Karen Carpenter, not in just the
You
singing
didn't-
way.
No, you didn't want to.
No,
I had to
I
convince you to do it. They did not have a drummer,
Right.
and they didn't want to spend the money for a drummer,
No.
but they knew they needed a drummer.
Right.
And so me and my silly ways back in those days, I said, oh, my wife played snare drum and glockenspiel
Yes, she
in the
did.
high school band.
And she was young.
Yeah,
And you
she
do
w-
stupid
we
things
were
when you're
all
young.
We were all at 23 or 24.
I know it.
And I said, I'll get her to come. And
Yeah, that was it.
those musicians in the audience know it's like trying to put flour in a cake after
Right.
it's coming out of the
No,
oven.
you can't do that.
Trying to play drums with musicians after the fact.
There was no click track, and so I
no.
was way off. But Jeff Duffield,
you
we
weren't
have
the one, but
gone
anyway.
way over here.
Yes, we have.
We've got to stop.
Did we
because
get all our stories in?
Well, for today.
Okay.
For today.
Okay.
For episode 16 anyway.
Yes.
But there's one thing I do want to tell you, going back to when Paul was preaching in Troas. I don't know if you remember this story or not. There was a teenager named Eutychus. Talk about stupid things that kids do. like we did, of course. He had this silly idea to sit on the sill of an open third-story window. And once the sermon ran long with Paul, Eutychus fell asleep. Now, I know Jeff Duffield has fallen asleep several times in services. I know that to be true.
What?
But Eutychus fell out of the window, right smack to the ground, and he broke his neck. Oh, and before his family could even start planning the funeral, Paul raised him to life again. Did you know that?
Yes, I've heard this story.
That's awesome. And I'm like, it's a cautionary tale about staying awake in church, I'm thinking, you know? And so over the years, when we've been asked to play as young people and even, you know, confronted with pastors that split their churches or confronted with pastors that want to have a fight, okay? We've learned over the years that there's really good things that happen to you when you're young that, praise God, as you get older, you just look back and you just have to laugh about it. You could read about Eutychus in the book of Acts in chapter 20, 7 through 13. It's really a weird process, I think, when teen boys in the first century apparently had just as little common sense as modern teens do today and as the Duffields did when they were young. True?
This is true.
We have learned through crazy events and crazy experiences and crazy requests to keep on keeping on. Well, thanks for tuning in to episode 16. The Subiquitous Podcast is brought to you every single week on Tuesday mornings, and then later on you can download it and listen to it anytime you'd like. We'd love to hear from you. You can do that a couple of ways. You can email me at radiosue@me.com or just get on our website at sueduffield.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week.